ready to face the Netherlands for the first time in 30 years. Frimpong, dangerous ball, Depay. Memphis Depay. Here goes Frimpong again. Frimpong all alone. Frimpong across. Davies made up the ground, but Frimpong, second chance, it does it. Plays it across. Cornelius steps, shoot it. Spilled by Sinclair. Weghorst smashes it home. Ball played low, skips through. Zator pops it up. It's still loose. Van Dijk. That's too easy. Virgil van Dijk.
I think the next step here is to really grow, from that first half to keep it up on the second half, because, the games are 90 minutes.
Another tough test awaits the Canadians today in Bordeaux. World number 2 France pose yet another daunting challenge for Canada in their final match before Copa America. A loss against the Dutch was a story of two halves for the Maple Leaf. Can Les Rouges get off to a good start again, but this time maintain composure until the end? An easy ask in theory, but in reality, the French have lost just twice since their World Cup final loss to Argentina. It's all coming up on One Soccer. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Matchday Live, presented by CIBC. Andy Petrillo alongside Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack, for the first time since 1986, the 1986 World Cup, in fact. Canada and France once again going head-to-head. That was actually Canada's first ever game at their first ever World Cup. And you know what? They put in a good performance, held on until the 79th minute, ultimately losing 1-0 to the French. And as we know, gentlemen, the French have been a formidable foe since then. They've gone on to win 2 World Cups, 1998, 2018. What is the magnitude of today's match?
Yeah, it's magical, right? It's special. It's what Canadian players have wanted for a long time. You talk about that game. Our good friend Paul Dolan was playing in that game. I speak to him still to this day, right? I mean, that's a World Cup opener, but getting to play the French and great player like Platini, and now you get to play these top players today. We might see Mbappe, but, you got Griezmann in there. You got, world-class players. Camavinga, a Champions League winner. As Eustachio told us yesterday in the press conference, this was a dream opponent. These were the kind of players in the kind of countries they can only have dreamt of playing a couple of years ago, and now they get that chance.
What a nation to play. It feels like Christmas. Pinch me. It really does. Like, France, the team, Kante is going to be on the pitch today, Thuram, Saliba. This squad has a plethora of options. Everyone talks about France when they play. They basically have 2 full teams that could go and compete at any given time against any squad. This is a dream come true if you're Canadian.
And by the way, you get Kevin Blue, Peter Grusso, and Jesse Marsh getting to talk to a World Cup winner, both as a coach and a player in Didier Deschamps. So I'm sure they'll take that as pretty valuable.
Yeah, it seems kind of nice.
That's pretty nice.
That's an image we didn't think we'd see. And you know what? There are people out there with varying opinions about Canada going up against Dutch, France. Are they ready for it? Just as there were varying opinions after that loss to the Netherlands 4-0. There are those who are choosing to take the positive, remaining goalless for the first 45. And then there are those who are choosing to look at the result and are taking issue with the 4 goals given up in the second 45. But how does the head coach, Jesse Marsh, feel about his team's performance?
Honestly, it always feels tough when you walk away 4-0. I don't think that was indicative of the game, but, I thought that in the first half we represented ourselves really well, and the version of football that I want the team to move toward. And then what you see in the second half is when then the Dutch start to crank up the heat a little bit, then you can see a little bit more of their quality, and we get stressed a little bit more, and so, it forces us into a few mistakes. But, I told them that certainly the first half and overall it was better than I had hoped. And we know that we have some big challenges against our first opponents, but we're going to learn from them. There's a lot of little things in there that I think we can make adjustments to be clearer and simpler in the way we want to play. But I think it was, for a 4-0 match, it was actually a pretty good performance.
All right, Jordan, what do you make of his assessment?
I see why you said that. I think the first half, you could see the Jesse Marsh way. You could see that Canada was on the front foot. Everyone was organized and they were pressing. But then the 4 goals just come from Canada giving to them in a way, in terms of not being so close as they should be. And there were 2 halves of football. But if you look at the first 45, KJ, they were there and they played a a good, organized game.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I could repeat myself on what I said post-game, and it's similar to what Jesse just said there. So instead of repeating myself, I think I'll just talk about what Jesse said. I think it's an accurate reflection of what the game was. And you know, he didn't sit there and say, it was acceptable, but he did what he needs to do, right? He picks moments out of the game that he can see as, are we progressing? What are we benefiting from that? And, you know, Canada and Jesse Marsh, this entire era is not going to be judged on how they play today, just like how it isn't going to be judged on Thursday. So what are these days for? They are about preparing you for those monumental games that you will be judged. Can you make it to a Nations League Final Four? Can you get out the Gold Cup quarterfinal stage? Can you get to a Gold Cup final? Can you win a Gold Cup? And more importantly, what are you going to do in 2026 in that group when you're going to be seeded and you're going to be expected to get to a World Cup knockout stage and a potential last 32 against a team at home that you are expected to beat? They are all the moments, they are all the areas that when we look back in 2026, Jesse Marsh's era, that we're going to be actually judging him on. These are the areas right now where outcomes are important, of course, but were some of the goals bad? Yes. But will they be conceding those goals against some of these opponents that are going to be playing going forward? No.
If it makes anyone feel any better, the Americans just came off a 5-1 loss to Colombia, if we're going to start looking at score lines. But we did talk to Jesse Marsh about this, and you know, he is evaluating his team for future, and I think this is why we're seeing substitutions like Brim and Zator coming on in. Maybe you wouldn't see them at least earlier on in the game because he is really trying to assess what he has moving forward. He's still assessing when it comes to the leadership role in that who wears the armband. We did see Alphonso Davies wear that in the first match against the Netherlands. Today, it's going to be Stefan Eustachio. What do you think his role is in this squad under this new head coach?
I think when you play midfield the way that he does, someone who likes to control the tempo and the pace of a match, naturally you're in a position to be a leader. But I think what I would ask of him as well when you're looking at the Marsh era and the way that Canada are pressing is when they go, KJ, and when they don't. I feel like I want to hear his voice. I want him to be yelling at the front line and the wingers to stay tucked in. But Canada can't go for 90 minutes. We saw it against the Netherlands. I do agree with you in terms of when you play against different teams in CONCACAF, there might not be that type of threat. But in terms of pressing and going hard for 90 minutes, that is not attainable. No. So when a team goes, yes, Marsh could be saying it on the sideline, but it means so much more when your leader, captain, heart of the midfield is telling you when to go, telling you when to stay. And it just means more when it's a 10-yard someone yelling at you as opposed to someone from the bench. So I think his role is crucial. I love that he's being a captain today, but just want to hear that voice and that presence.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes him the right captain. I asked him yesterday about what it's like to play under Marsh and the difference in that, and his answer, he used the word compact three times to me in the same answer. And I thought that was pretty indicative of what is in his mind right now in terms of what he's thinking about compact. But I think he's the right captain at the right time. Is incredibly intelligent, both on and off the field. He's got that emotional intelligence. He's got the respect of his teammates. He's got the voice on and off the field. He's a professional who plays at a very high level at a club where he knows what it's like to get it done on and off the field as well. The training habits, the ability to bring the culture. I think he's an outstanding captain, and I know that players think that as well, being around him in Texas.
All these coaches bring their own buzzwords. For the longest time with John Herdman, it was be brave, 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 brave. I swear I never wanted to hear that word again. Now it's going to turn into compact. Don't want to hear that word again. But that, of course, is what the players are trying to figure out. They have a new coach. It is a new system. That is for sure. And you know what? A veteran, by the way, on this Canadian squad has been around for quite some time. That Jesse Marsh is actually his 6th national team head coach. I'm talking about MLS champion with Toronto FC midfielder Jonathan Osorio. We hear from him after the break on One Soccer.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada because this journey belongs to everyone.
These days at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
He's brought a great energy to the environment, and he's brought his ideas, of course, of the way he sees football and the way he sees us playing and going after teams. And people are going to see an exciting team that is aggressive and really takes it to teams, no matter who the opponent is. You can't ask for more than playing against the Netherlands and France and Argentina, playing in Copa America. These are rivals, and these are matches and tournaments that are only going to help us grow as a team and improve, and to see where we measure against the top level of teams in football. So it's exciting. The guys are all excited. These are games you want to play in always, and these are the games that you learn the most from. And more than anything, again, it's exciting, and we're really looking forward to it. Probably you can argue it might be just as difficult, if not even more difficult, of a game. But again, you want to play in these games, and Jesse again is gonna prepare a match against them. And I think these games are about really setting our identity and improving with each game, and getting ourselves ready for then going into the tournament, Copa America. That's going to be really important for us.
On Thursday, we were given a front row seat to Jesse Marsh's style of play. Very narrow, compact, high press. What was the good? What was the bad of that system for Canada? Let's break things down with KJ and Jordan. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Christian Jack, Jordan Wilson. We had one game. We've heard Jonathan Osorio call it identity. We know what Jesse Marsh's teams in the past are about. We've had 190 minutes to gather some evidence as jurors. So let's get into it. Let's figure out what we like, what we don't like, and what's worked so far against very good opposition. We're going to show you 3 clips. First thing I want to show you is the time, because this is important, Jordan, as a former player. Why, and why is it so important, particularly in the press?
Usually the first 15 minutes of a game is when you want to go, but I like how organized Canada was 5 minutes into the match. And the players that were there, Tejan was high, Laron was high, David did an exceptional job of splitting the field. But as we play it through here, we see a front 4, 5, pressing the Netherlands, wanting them to kick it long, wanting them, baiting them to try to play through, but you couldn't penetrate through the Canada midfield here. So you have to play it back.
It's a very aggressive press.
Very aggressive, very organized, and this is why Marsh said what he said. is because for a good half,
Yep.
nearly a half, they were there.
Yep.
And they didn't get played through. You had to play around if you're the Netherlands side.
This is a Canada breakdown, I promise, but I want to highlight Verbruggen, the goalkeeper, because there's different stages of what we're going to talk about here. Just
Yes.
watch this. So he's seeing something in his own eyes, and the Dutch are a very intelligent team. First 5 minutes of the game. And in this press here, he has nowhere to go, and Canada are essentially giving out this side of the field and saying, you can go wide with us, and this is what he does as we play it through.
And we talk about triggers, right, KJ? This is one, an aerial ball.
Yeah.
Look who comes to the rescue. This is a right back,
Yeah.
right? Pressing. Tejan knows a backward pass, I'm pressing. Now, you just want to look at Jonathan David, right? Striker, you could say whatever he is, maybe a 10 on the day, but ready to go. Splitting the pitch, right?
Yep.
Knowing that if it goes there, he's going to go. And it's not going to be a jog.
It can go either way, by the way.
Yeah,
But his eyes have read Verbruggen here.
Yes, and it's not going to be a jog. He sprints, which
Yeah.
is so important
Yeah.
in this press.
Yeah, so Schouten and Gravenberch, both the sixes are there for a reason, to receive the ball and to bring the other players with them to play over the top.
The Dutch want to play out the back for sure.
For sure, but again here, so now, again, more progress. He sees what happens, play through what happens again here. David goes this time.
Goes, press.
And at this point, 5 minutes into a game against a top world-class team, you've got them where you want them to go in an area of the field where Eustachio and Johnston are now in as well. Look how compact Canada are in that moment.
And they're hunting together.
Hunting together.
1, 2, 3, 4. You have Johnson being 5. Really playing. This looks like a little rondo. This looks like a training match of 20 by 20. Everyone's there. Everyone has a man. They want to press them and forcing them to play it long.
Look where the aforementioned goalie is, by the way. He's there as well. You know why he's there, don't you? Because he thinks he needs to be involved if they need him as well. He's not back in his net going, you guys can play. He wants that ball. But watch what happens when they turn it over. They're not used to getting turned over. Watch what happens. Watch the goalie as Canada receives the ball. He's like, oh, I got to get back in my net because, look, I'm out of it. And at that point, Canada got them where they want them to be. That's an example of it, first 5 minutes of the game. Now, this is another example. Look at this. And in particular, look at this. This is the end of the first half, not the start of the second. Another press. There's Canada's 4-4-2. There's your midfield 4. There's your front 2. And at this point, we're going to see how the goalie adapts. Right?
Van Bruggen, 2 blocks of 4, you like it, but you have to pay attention to the time. This is the time to go in at half even, right? You don't want to concede.
You can play it through here, yeah.
Right? We talk about Blind. As it's played back, players start to progress, start to get up the pitch. Canada's still compact.
He's baiting them in there.
Yes, but look at this. Eustachio, Kone, all up on the pitch. My question here, KJ, and you know me very well, who is protecting the back 4 in this moment?
Right.
If you have Kone here, if you have Eustachio here, you have a winger, striker, Miller, you can't see him, but he's also up.
Yeah.
That's 6 players.
You can throw a blanket over them, really.
There are only 4 left.
Yeah.
Who is protecting that middle? And we play it. Van Bruggen does great to play it up.
He understands it now. So this is the
Have to
outcome,
play it long.
right? There's a better look tactically I want to show you in a second, but we all know what happens here. Robbie gets the right side of Bombito. St. Clair comes out well. You can see in the frustration from the Dutch that they've worked on this. They've talked about it. Depay's even recognized it. You're going to see what he's going to say in a second. They thought they were going to score because he'd baited them in. They'd recognized it. They'd exploited Canada. And as we pause it here, there's your best look. You should go full screen in here. Watch this, because now look how many men have committed. But look at the back 4.
Yeah, and KJ just draw a big hole for me right in that middle where
Right there,
a midfielder should be, right, to protect. Great defenders that we have for Canada. Davies, Cornelius, Bombito, Johnston. Who is protecting right here? Who's in that area? As well as Bombito is, you have to be perfect as a center back to defend 1v1 with no help.
Right.
All of our defenders here for Canada are on an island by themselves. A little pass out. Memphis does well to bring it down, play it in, and the Netherlands are off to the races.
If you go in as a 6, you got to get that ball.
You have to win it, or it has to go out of play.
Yeah.
Because at that point, if they can play out...
But a top goalie and a top team, it didn't even take them 45 minutes. Have recognized it, have baited you in, and then play it through. We know what happens. They've baited you in, and then they've exploited
And he's outside. He's in his half. That's how high Canada are pressing.
And he knew why. He knew that that ball was coming over because they exploited it, and that's the difference between the top team and somebody else that Canada might play in this region. Final clip for you. Now look at the time. This is the 2-0 goal. We talked about this in the post-game show a little bit. There's a lot to get into on this as well. But, you know, for me, there's issues with the goalie. Should St. Clair be a little bit higher there? And we all know the best player for Frimpong scores the goal. This is the play, right? This is the play. And again, this is the active press. And I asked Jesse Marsh a little bit about this, and he felt at this point maybe his attackers went a little bit too much aggressive after the press. At that point, he felt a little bit. But, you know, when you look at this and then you see Cornelius is going to go in here. This is what the Dutch do, and find that inside level here, inside position here, to receive the ball and then exploit Canada in making them imbalance with the back four. What do you see here?
One pass beats 6 players, and that will happen sometimes, right? You press, but a good team will pick you out, and fine. This run for me, that 12 yards, whatever it might be, Cornelius can't win the ball. I think for me, Canada, the learning curve is when you can't win the ball, fall together.
What about the distance between Cornelius and Laren?
It's obviously not ideal. We talk about compact, being close. They are spread out. There are pockets the Netherlands can play. Again, for me, as a fan watching the game and breaking it down, it's okay if this does happen, but I don't think there should be a chain reaction of continue to press, because it leads to the second goal.
Right, yeah, play it through. And so once they receive that ball and they're in, at that moment, you can see
one forward, 3. But it's okay if one goes, but the other 3 should be tight. Right. When Cornelius goes, there's no chance that everyone else could get tight. No. Bombito has a man. Zator is on the other side. Yeah. You have all these players just disconnected and so far apart from each other.
As we play it through quickly, you can see what Davies understands when he's back to goal. His hand goes up there, and what he's asking there is, he thinks this is the goal scorer, Bobby. He thinks that's the danger man now. That's not the goal scorer in the end. He doesn't score, but his hand goes up because he wants Bombito to come across, and that's just a little bit of an area that guy's one of the fastest defenders in European football, in world football. He wants him to beat him across, and the other thing I think he wants is maybe a goalie right there. A little bit. Watch how Bobby stays the right side of the ball compared to Bombito, and that's something you'll learn as a defender, no?
It's one thing, it's one thing they're going to highlight as well. If you're going to play so high, sweeper keeper has to come too.
Yeah, play
Not
through.
talking about faults,
He's
but
nowhere.
in terms of there's a big gap, right? So everyone has to go as a Canadian squad if they're going to play this type of system.
It's an interesting point. I asked Jesse Marsh about it, and he did say that he wanted Dane Sinclair a little bit higher. That's not why he's not playing. Just to reiterate, he did say that Crepeau was penciled in for this game after all. Okay. I didn't want to tell him that before. But that's just one game, 90 minutes. We've got another 90 minutes against the French. We'll see what they're able to do today.
Great stuff, guys, and this is why Jesse Marsh says sometimes losing 4-0 to a top-quality team, you learn more than if you were to win 2-0 against a lesser opponent. Well, we have a full slate of soccer on the channel for you today. Following the Canada game, it's CPL action with York United hosting Vancouver FC. It's our first look at New York head coach Benjamin Mora. Match night breaking down the week that was follows. Well, as I mentioned earlier, World Cup Mexico 1986. Canada took to the pitch for their very first World Cup match, and it was against France. The French team was 2 years removed from being crowned European champions. A valiant effort by the debutants, holding France off the score sheet until the 79th minute. Jean-Pierre Papin breaking the deadlock, and here we go again, 38 years later.
This match is brought to you by CIBC, Canada Soccer's lead partner.
In 5 years, we'll be doing this, but in Japan.
In 5 years, my family will be joining me.
I'll be living in the city.
Not living in the city.
In 5 years, I'll be king of the court.
I'll be playing for Canada.
I'll be playing for Canada.
In 5 years? Where won't I be in 5 years?
From the edge of your seat or up on your feet, let them hear you cheer.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me this.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Life's better with extra space. Space for family. Space for memories. Space for you. Try 4 weeks free. Access Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the official home for the widest range of Canada Soccer licensed product, match jerseys, and fanwear.
If you're a wine lover, then you know about Bordeaux. There are plenty of vineyards to visit, also many historical sites. For us, we're heading inside Stade Mammoth Athletic for Canada versus France. Let's take a look at France's starting 11 presented by GE. On June 5th, the French played to a 3-0 win over Luxembourg. In fact, since losing in penalty kicks Argentina in the World Cup final, they've lost only twice in 13 fixtures, both times at the hands of the Germans. As we welcome you back in a Matchday Live presented by CIBC. Andy, Jordan, KJ with you. KJ, what is Canada up against?
Wow. Well, they've made 4 changes, and one person to come in has just won a UEFA Champions League. That's Camavinga. Another one is, unfortunately, Mbappe's out, but he may get in. But they brought in this guy called Giroud. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's their record goal scorer ever. Pleasure to be in the stadium in Qatar when I saw Giroud break the record there against Poland. So, look, it's going to be really tough. There's athletes all over the field. Only 4 changes. I expected more. But to see players come in, you know, like Konate's back and Saliba comes in and Theo Hernandez, and, you know, you got real athleticism. They're far more athletic than the Dutch, actually, and maybe even a bit more powerful as well, Jordan.
And when they break fast together. All over the pitch, Canada needs to be perfect for this to be a good day for them, a good match. Because you talked about athleticism, but in terms of just football and the way that they play and how each person can blow by a defender, get by someone, make it a 2v1 situation for the French, they're good all over this pitch. I really don't even see any deficiencies within the squad.
Check out the atmosphere already. The fans are out in attendance. I wonder where the Canadian fans are. I am just seeing a sea of French flags there, but we know that Canadians travel well. Let's take a look at Canada's starting 11, brought to you by GE. Just incredible atmosphere there. A change in goal. We did mention this is something Jesse Marsh did have planned. Max Crepeau is the one who gets the call. Other than that, it is the same starting 11. We were wondering, I mean, we did see Alphonso Davies go down a little bit. He is good to go, even though he remained in the game after he went down. Alistair Johnson subbed out. We wondered if he'd be good to go. He is good to go. He really did like Cornelius and Bombito as well as those 2 center backs. But let's begin with Alphonso Davies, who was up against some tough tests in that game against the Dutch. Jeremy Frimpong, as we know, had a magnificent game, scored his first goal for country as well. So when you look back, how would you assess Davies' performance?
I watched the game again yesterday, and I thought he was good. And I think he's going through a phase right now where he's not in that flow state. You know, he's not at that level where, at the club level, you can see he's completely comfortable. But there were signs, particularly as an attacker in the first half, I want to show. We spent a lot of time in the post-game show the other day talking defensively. So I want to talk about this, in particular, a couple of areas where I think that they recognize it. As we play it through, you can see right away. Just keep an eye on how Canada tries to get beyond that, you know, the block of the Dutch. And once you get into that space there, this is the area here. I think this is where the trigger point should be for Davies. And, you know, don't watch the ball in this moment. Watch Davies here and what he does by, once you get into that, his trigger. So play it through, and in particular, watch Davies and Eustachio as we fall into frame right now. As soon as you get that there, Eustachio checks his shoulder. And as he checks his shoulder, he's got the ball with his back to goal. But he already knows he's got the time to turn, and Davies, look at his body positioning. That's not a body position of, I want the ball, I'm going to receive it here and get touch tight with the defender. That's a body position of like, okay, you turn, I'm off. I'm on the sprint and I'm gone. So watch what Eustachio does here right away as he receives the ball. Davies backs up, he's got the space, and now he's gone. And this is where you want him. And in this moment, I'm just going to pause it right in a second. We're going to see the replay. It comes across to Liam Miller, and as Liam Miller takes that shot, it doesn't end well. But there's a replay on this area where I think a sharp Davies and maybe a sharp Canada not playing in that first game, they take advantage of it. Look where Larin holds his run. That is a ball across the goal, and that is a goal, Jordan. Right?
Hard and low, and it could be dangerous for Larin, right? The ball be bouncing and
what
maybe
an opportunity that is.
For sure. When you look at decisions, hard and low could be that one. The cutback for Miller, I remember also when Davies was running back, just telling him maybe he could take a touch. Yeah. Like that's a situation you're in the box, and a cutback is more than enough to give a player at that time. But yeah, you want to see Alphonso Davies going forward. There's certain defenders where you're like, you want them to defend. Davies, as much as he can get forward and be causing havoc down the left-hand side, That's what you want for Canada.
Yeah, that's one opportunity. There's another one, you know. Eventually, they're on their attack here. Davies has got his hand up right away. And you can see he's in that dangerous position, you know. Right away, look at this. Look at Larin. He's got that hand up, right? How many times did we see him put that hand up before scoring 1-0 goals in CONCACAF? And if that ball is just delivered in the right way, and you can see what Davies does here. It doesn't actually get delivered. He takes an extra touch, play it through, it gets deflected, and it doesn't end up being valuable for Canada. But they're just opportunities, right? You can see Davies and Larin, Larin and David just waiting for that ball to play it through. Just opportunities where I think if he's in that flow state, a little bit more rhythm, maybe against a team that you've not as good as the Dutch, you've got opportunities.
When you see that last clip as well, nothing is worse for a defender than to try to defend that. When you're running back to goal, the ball is played hard and low across, and you have to go and try to stick a toe out or something to stop attackers from going to score.
We know Sam Adekubi dealing with injury, not here in this camp. There are a lot of fans who still want to see Alphonso Davies perhaps maybe more as that left wing back because they do like the way he looks getting forward. You're right, first game back, by the way, for the players, maybe not the sharpness there, and it's not that easy. By the way, get sharp against the Dutch right out of the gate. Max Crepeau, as we mentioned, he's starting. What do you make of the change in goal?
I kind of just like how there's a competition brewing. Like, I like that we saw Dane St. Clair. I thought, obviously, it's a tough day when 4 goals get scored on you, but in terms of big saves and big moments, he had them in that match. And you want to challenge Max Crepeau to do the same thing. I think having these two, they're both at a ripe age. When you're looking at 2026 and for a keeper to step up big, these two, I just like how they're going at it.
Yeah, it's fascinating in many ways because he hasn't done it with any other position, right? So he hasn't gone, oh, you know what, come on, Miller, you get 1, Derek Cornelius gets 1. True. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't gone, oh, you know what, Osorio, you get 1, Kone gets 1. You know, it's just this position and this position only. And you know, even though I asked him on Thursday, and I said it on Thursday's show, is this 1 for 1, 1 for the other? And he said no at the time. He told us because he didn't want Dane Sinclair to think there was too much pressure, that would be the only chance.
Got it.
But this makes sense because if you play Dane Sinclair today, he has to play against Messi in Argentina. He has to play him. Now it gives him more time to evaluate and to think about and associate which one is the better. If you play Dane Sinclair in both these games, he's a shoo-in. But now he may be the favourite, having get that first game, but Maxime Crepeau deserves the opportunity. Dane Sinclair's played well in MLS. Crepeau's played decent. Now they get the chance to show it, and now it gives Jesse Marsh that extra runway to make that decision before the 20th.
Now do you understand why I support goalkeepers? It is one of the toughest positions. You're right, but here's the thing. I mean, Max Crepeau, he's been biding his time behind Milan Borjan, but suddenly when the opportunity presents itself, Dane St. Clair raises his hand, and now we have ourselves a good competition between the sticks for Canada. In League One action, or League 1 action this year, Jonathan David finished tied for second in goals with 19. You know who finished first? Kylian Mbappe with 27. Now with Real Madrid. What do you want to see from Jonathan David?
Well, just more of the same. I don't think there's a bigger fan of this guy in Canada than me.
Yeah, you're a big fan. Rightfully so.
And I just love seeing his development. And look, we'll show the first minute of the game, what we showed in the midweek, and what he can do and what his rewards are for it. And the defensive work rate that this boy puts in is absolutely remarkable. And it's not something you see out of star forwards around the world. You know, use the word whatever you want. The mentality, the intensity, the relentlessness. Look how that press works for him and how he gets that opportunity. Now, he doesn't take it in that moment, but that just shows you what he gets. You know, he's rewarded for it. So, you know, Jesse Marsh gets to manage this guy for the first time, right? So I asked him yesterday, what was that like? And his eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. He wanted to talk to me about Jonathan David for hours. He said he was one of the first players he said after the game that he went to see, and he described his performance on Thursday as quote unquote absolutely amazing. And I can't disagree with it, because Marsh is going to fall in love, if he's not already, fall in love with this player because he gives him absolutely everything. He's one of the best defensive centre forwards in the world, and he can score goals. The key now is the balance to get him more touches in the opposition's box so he can be the lethal finisher.
Quickly, I just want to say I want him to be a bit more selfish. I agree with you. I love that he's organized. Shoot, get in areas. Yeah. He's one of our best players for Canada. Be a bit more selfish in front of goal.
Yeah, Jesse Marsh doesn't want anyone to be fooled by the Iceman. He said sometimes he can look aloof on the pitch, but he's so dialed in. He knows exactly what's going on at every single second of the match. All right, players, it's still a 4-0 loss. How do you put that behind you? If you're Jesse Marsh, are you preaching don't look at the results, look at the little things. But as a player, how do you digest that? How do you move on?
Yeah, I feel like that was an easy one to maybe brush over your shoulder. Like the 4-0 didn't seem like a shellacking. It wasn't a game where the Dutch were just bossing it the whole time and you were basically trying to chase shadows and chase numbers. It was a game where there were margins, and through the second half, Canada was a bit more open, and the Dutch just took advantage of their prowess, the way that they know how to win. So I think if you're looking at this, you're just excited for the opportunity. You're playing the French national team in France. Like, I don't think you're thinking about Thursday. I think you're just thinking about what's next, and this is a huge opportunity ahead of them.
Opportunity is the word. He's rewarded them to go again. So it's not your last memory or your last trial to try and prove to be a Canadian player. It's just playing them and getting beat 4-0 and rotating. He's given them another opportunity. So can Canada show the identity that Jesse Marsh wants to play, but show some intelligence on the field to adapt a little bit against a top-class opponent? I watched the French play Luxembourg last week. Luxembourg are not Canada. They're not as good as them. They defended well and lost 3-0. Let's see what Canada did.
Jesse Marsh says, we know this is a marathon, but I need my players to play with the urgency of a sprint. And now it's another tough test for the Canadians, but it's one they relish. It's another look at the team in the Jesse Marsh era before the start of Copa America. When we return, we're off to France for kickoff. The action is next on One Soccer.
Canada's men's national team on One Soccer is brought to you by Toyota.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada, because this journey belongs to everyone.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree keeps working when others stop.
This is not just laundry. This is laundry that's one and done. This is the ultra-fast combo laundry machine that does both washing and drying cycles, so you can take a load off. This is cleaning large loads in about 2 hours. No more checking, no more forgetting. Profile is revolutionizing laundry, making any room the laundry room. This is GE Profile.
From the edge of your seat or up on your feet, let them hear you cheer.
Allstate and its 900 agents proudly support Canadian soccer at every level. Visit allstate.ca.
Welcome to Bordeaux, France, the next stop for Canada for their Copa America preparations. And for the home side, France, a celebratory send-off ahead of Euro 2024. The first game, also the first under Jesse Marsh of this pair of international friendlies, was a difficult date with the Dutch. A competitive, compact Canada were level after 45. 4 goals in the second half assured that reality set in. There's much work to be done for Marsh's men in the Maple Leaf. 3 days later, here we are. The second-ranked team in the world welcomes and awaits the Canadian test in 2-time World Cup winner and the World Cup finalist in France, who are going to provide the next tough test. The hope, the positive outweighs any potential turbulence. Reaching great heights does not come easy, and there certainly is a distance to go. Gareth Wheeler, Jimmy Brennan with you ahead of this one here today. There's no denying it, France, one of the top footballing sides in the world. I put them in a small group of contenders every competition they play in. And Canada, on short rest today, have Didier Deschamps' French side, who look to be a powerhouse and the odds-on favorite ahead of Euro 2024.
Yeah, they are a fantastic side, aren't they? You just look at their squad, the amount of depth that they have, where these players are playing around the world. They are a fascinating side to watch. And it's going to be a great test for these Canadian players. We talked about it over time now. This Canadian team needs to be playing these matches against these big powerhouse teams in order to improve, to find out where we are as a country. And I'm expecting another good test for this Canadian team today.
That man right there, you saw a moment ago, Kylian Mbappe, not in the starting 11 today, but Olivier Giroud, the 37-year-old, will lead them out today. The players come in, they come out of the team, but still it's strength for strength. And in Jesse Marsh's estimation, they have top players at every position across the field, and it's hard to argue otherwise.
No, absolutely. Like I said before, they're an absolutely amazing squad. The depth that they have, they've got a fantastic coach as well, leading this French team. And again, this is a great experience for this Canadian team and another great match leading us up into this Copa America.
As for Canada, they'll at least not face Mbappe from the start in this one here today. But they look loose. They came out to a round of applause from the French fans. It's very rare that there's a national team game in Bordeaux. This is just the second one since 2015. As for Canada, in terms of taking care of their own business today, what stands out to you? What's the priority?
Well, for me, when I look at the last match that they played against Holland, that first 45 minutes I thought was very good. You know, the players were on it. They matched Holland's work ethic all over the park. And at times they had a couple of decent chances to finish and get goals, but they need to do that for 90 minutes today.
Obviously easier said than done, especially with some players out of season, obviously. Need to build up quickly ahead to Copa America. There needs to be a balancing act between playing your game as well as playing your opponent here today. There's Peter Agruso, the new Canada Soccer president, in attendance here today as well. So it's a big one for Canada. The concern and worry that always has to be in the back of your mind, if there's another lopsided scoreline that doesn't go Canada's way, what potentially is the knock-on effect for a new manager and a new team, at least in terms of the way that they're playing, for them to come together ahead of a major competition like Copa America?
Look, for Jesse Marsh, these are great having these matches. Now, he's going to have objectives and things that he wants to get out of these games. Look, you're not playing for points here. You're playing to get something out of them. And that's why whatever their objective is, if this team is going to be a team that's going to press, going to close down quick, get forward as quick as possible, then this is what they've got to work on over these two games to get something out of it so that when they do go into an international tournament, they're ready, they're prepared.
France, the number 2 ranked team in the FIFA rankings. You don't have to go back very far for Canada as a reference point for them playing the second-ranked team in the world. They did just that, and they actually outplayed Belgium at times at the World Cup in what turned out to be a 1-0 draw. So sit back, the national anthems are upcoming, and what should be a spectacular footballing spectacle, and what an experience for this team and this country to have today. It's France, it's Canada, it's right here on One Soccer. Spectacular. What a setting for this match. It's France, it's Canada, an international friendly. Just the second time that these two sides have met in international competition. The first, Canada's first ever World Cup game in 1986. A Jean-Pierre Papin goal in the 79th minute led France to a 1-0 victory. Canada fared well that day, and France went on to finish third in the 1986 World Cup. For Didier Deschamps, a win today would be his 100th all-time for the record-setting French manager, one of 3 men who have won both